It was a bright and rare sunny morning, and I was enjoying my quiet time alone in the living room. I didn't expect anything unusual, but then I heard heavy footsteps at the door. My husband Kevin walked in, followed by his sister Elizabeth. Both of them were carrying big bags and breathing heavily, like they had moved a mountain. They gave me fake smiles, then Kevin dropped a shocking line. "We're moving in with you from today. If you don't like it, divorce me." Before I could even react, they started placing their belongings all around like it was already their house. I stood there, stunned, wondering if this was real. And then, behind them, came Stella, Elizabeth's daughter. She looked apologetic and avoided my eyes. Something strange was happening, and I could feel it deep in my chest. Trying not to panic, I spoke quietly and said, "It's okay, but are you really sure about this?" Kevin suddenly looked pale. Then, without saying another word, he rushed out of the house. A few minutes later, he called me and started shouting so loudly I could hear him from where Elizabeth stood. "Why didn't you say anything?" he screamed. I replied calmly, "I thought I told you before." He grumbled something and said, "I'm coming back," then hung up. Elizabeth looked like she was about to faint from the shock of Kevin's yelling. I looked at her and said, "I'm actually looking forward to Kevin coming back." Her shoulders twitched, surprised by my calmness. This time I wasn't scared or quiet like before. I had reached my limit, and something inside me had changed. The time to fight back had finally come. My name is Madison, and I'm 45 years old. I work full-time at a very busy office. I married Kevin when I was 40, after meeting him at a company party. Back then, he seemed like a dream. Older, confident, and from the same hometown. I thought he was a blessing when I had almost given up on marriage. We dated for a year, and then got married. Kevin didn't want a wedding ceremony, saying it was a waste of money. I felt sad about it, but I went along. Looking back now, maybe I should have known better. After the marriage, things slowly began to fall apart. Kevin changed. The man who once cared for me became controlling and mean. He would yell at me over the smallest things and treated me like I was beneath him. Even though we both worked, I was the one doing everything at home. If I didn't finish the laundry or forgot something small, Kevin would yell at me like I had committed a crime. "Who do you think puts food on the table?" he'd say. But the truth was, I earned more than him. He knew that when we got married, but somehow forgot over time. At first, I tried to argue and defend myself, but Kevin would get even angrier. His shouting scared me, so I started to apologize just to stop the fights. "I'm sorry. It's my fault," I'd say, even when it wasn't. He'd calm down, act pleased, and go take a bath like nothing had happened. I was emotionally drained every single day. The man I once admired had become someone I barely recognized. The only reason I didn't walk away was because of his parents, my in-laws, Mia and Ricky. They were kind, gentle people. Mia would invite me to lunch once a month and talk with me like I was her own daughter. Ricky remembered my birthday every year and gave thoughtful gifts. Since I lost my own parents early in life, they felt like real family to me. But Kevin's sister, Elizabeth, made my life harder. She lived nearby after divorcing her husband due to cheating. She clearly didn't like me and often said rude things about me in front of Kevin. What shocked me more was that Kevin never defended me. In fact, he often laughed with her and agreed with her hurtful words. The pain of being ignored by your own husband is something I cannot describe. Elizabeth had a daughter named Stella. She was the complete opposite of her mother, kind, polite, and thoughtful. Sometimes Elizabeth would drop her off at our house suddenly. "Feed her something nice. I'm going out," she'd say, already on her way out. I couldn't say no to Stella. I didn't have kids of my own, and she was such a sweet, honest child. I would cook for her, play with her, and even take her out. She'd always say thank you with a smile that warmed my heart. But it bothered me how her own mother was never around for her visits. One day, I gently asked Kevin why Elizabeth never spent time with her daughter. I thought he would care. But instead, his face turned red, and he shouted at me like I had insulted a queen. "Don't blame her. She's delicate after her divorce." I was shocked at how defensive he became. I wasn't blaming Elizabeth. I was only thinking about Stella. But Kevin wouldn't hear it. He yelled at me to just shut up and listen, and stormed out, slamming the door. I sat there in silence, crying. That night, I started to seriously consider divorce. But then I remembered Mia and Ricky and how kind they were. Could I really leave them behind? A few days later, Mia invited me to lunch. Over lunch, she sighed and said something I didn't expect. "Elizabeth is coming to visit, right?" I nodded slowly. Mia looked worried. "She's in a lot of debt," she said. "Kevin even paid some of it before." That moment was a turning point for me. I realized I had been trying to hold together a marriage that was already broken. I was being used, not loved. That night, I started planning carefully. I gathered evidence, Kevin's verbal abuse, the money given to Elizabeth, and everything else. I kept it all hidden, preparing for the right time. I even mentioned Elizabeth's debts to Kevin, hoping he'd wake up and see what was happening. Instead, he shouted again, called me selfish, and left. I felt no love for him anymore. I was tired of being the only one holding this marriage together. The only people who had shown me real kindness were my in-laws and Stella. That was the truth. So I made my decision. I would end this marriage, but on my terms, with a plan. Then, that sunny morning came. Kevin and Elizabeth walked in without warning, bringing bags and boldness. They claimed they were moving in and dared me to divorce if I didn't like it. I stood still, hiding my anger, and asked softly, "Are you sure about this?" My calm voice seemed to shake Kevin. He turned pale and ran out, only to call back minutes later, shouting wildly. When he hung up, Elizabeth looked nervous. "Kevin's coming back soon," I said, watching her squirm. I knew her plan was about to fall apart. When Kevin returned, he didn't waste time. He turned to Elizabeth and asked, "What debts? What is Madison talking about?" Elizabeth tried to act innocent, saying it was just a small amount. I couldn't stop myself from laughing. "Wow, $150,000 is small now?" I said. That's when the truth spilled out like a broken dam. Elizabeth mumbled about paying it off once she got this house and sold it. "Once we sell it, I'll use the money for my man," she said, then froze, realizing she had revealed everything. Kevin looked at her in disbelief, then turned to me. I nodded calmly and said, "Yes, that was her plan. Kick me out. Then you, sell the house, and send the money to her boyfriend." Kevin couldn't speak. He was too stunned. I expected anger, but instead he whispered, "I want to live with Stella. Let us stay here." I couldn't believe it. He couldn't take care of me, yet wanted to support his sister and niece? Then Elizabeth added fuel to the fire. "You're just an ATM, big brother," she said with a smile. "Once we sell the house, I can go back to my guy." Their voices rose. They started shouting at each other, forgetting I was even in the room. Then, something unexpected happened. Stella, quiet until now, finally spoke. "Enough," she said, her voice firm and loud. The whole room fell silent. Kevin and Elizabeth turned toward her in surprise. She stood straight and looked at them both. "I didn't come here to live with you. I came to say goodbye." Elizabeth looked confused. "What do you mean?" she asked. Stella looked at her with cold eyes. "I'm going to study abroad. I told you, but you never listened. You don't care about me. You only care about chasing men." Elizabeth looked stunned, but Stella wasn't finished. "Madison is my real mom. She was always there for me. You weren't." I was frozen, not believing what I was hearing. Stella walked over to me and hugged me tightly. "Thank you for taking care of me," she said. "You made me feel loved." My heart was full. I didn't know what to say. Tears welled in my eyes. I held her close and whispered, "I'm proud of you. Do your best overseas." She smiled and said she would call and send messages. As we shared that moment, Elizabeth suddenly laughed. "I'll go with you, Stella. We'll live together. It'll be fun. Shopping, relaxing. You won't have to be alone." Stella stared at her in disbelief. "Why would I live with you?" she asked coldly. "I'm staying in a dorm. You can't come." Elizabeth's face turned red with anger. Just as she was about to shout again, the door opened. Ricky and Mia walked in. Ricky looked serious. "Elizabeth, we need to talk," he said firmly. Elizabeth turned pale. Behind him, Mia stood with her eyes sharp and cold. "How long do you plan to cause trouble for everyone?" she asked. Elizabeth tried to speak, but Mia walked up and slapped her. The sound echoed across the room. Elizabeth held her face, shocked. "You hit me," she whispered. Mia didn't blink. "You deserved it. You've caused too much pain. You're leaving now." Ricky and Mia guided her out as she cried and begged. Kevin stood frozen. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "I didn't know everything. I'll listen now." Mia glared at him. "It's too late. I warned you before not to let Elizabeth ruin your marriage. Now, the only option is divorce." Kevin looked at me, hoping I would forgive him, but I was ready. "Yes," I said. "Let's get divorced. And I'll be claiming alimony for the abuse. And maybe even for the affair." Kevin looked shocked. "Affair? What are you talking about?" I pulled out photos of him and another woman. "You recognize her?" I asked. He went silent. I placed the divorce papers on the table. "Sign them." Kevin signed the papers without a word. When it was done, I thanked Mia and Ricky, packed a small bag, and left the house. I stayed at a nearby hotel that night. The room was quiet, peaceful, and clean. For the first time in years, I slept without fear. The next day, I filed for divorce officially. Mia called to let me know that the alimony had already been deposited. Since Kevin had no savings, the in-laws paid it for now and would make him repay it later. I felt grateful, but not surprised. They had always been kind to me. Kevin, on the other hand, had lost his job. He was now working at a distant farm, doing hard labor every day. He had no car, no comfort, no way out. Elizabeth, too, was sent to live with relatives and worked without pay to repay her missed child support. Stella, on the other hand, was doing well. She moved abroad and messaged me often. She told me about her new school, her roommate, and their fun adventures. She was happy, and that made me happy too. Once, Kevin's affair partner contacted me to apologize. She hadn't even known he was married. She returned the branded gifts Kevin had given her. I sold them and used the money to treat Stella to lunch. Life was still busy, but now, everything I did was by choice. No one yelled at me anymore. No one controlled me. I finally had peace. And when I dropped Stella off at the airport, her father, Elizabeth's ex-husband, thanked me. We stayed in touch. Slowly, a friendship began to grow between us. We talked more and more. It was easy and comfortable in a way I had never felt with Kevin. He understood me. He respected me. One day, Stella asked on a video call, "Are you two going to get married someday?" I laughed. "Maybe," I said, "if he feels the same." I never thought I'd find a real family again, but now it was happening. Stella was like my daughter, and her father was becoming someone special to me. This time, things felt real, safe. I had lost years of my life in a broken marriage, but now I was building something new, something better.